It's not Islamophobic, Mr. Shajara, to think that women should have the rights that they have in Britain, that gay people should have the rights that they have in Britain.
Hey. Good to have you here. Let's get straight into it because this one is genuinely something. So what we are looking at today is a live on-air confrontation between an LBC host and Masud Shajara, the chair of the Islamic Human Rights Commission. And the two of them go back and forth on some of the most uncomfortable questions you can ask in a debate like this. We are talking about past statements, sanctioned organizations, women's rights, gay rights, and whether Iran's human rights record can seriously be compared to Britain's. And I promise you, the answers Masud gives are not what you would expect. Stick with this one all the way to the final exchange, because the last 2 minutes of this debate land in a way that is really hard to walk away from. Before we jump in, drop a comment and let me know what part of the world you are tuning in from. It genuinely means a lot to see where this community is spread across the globe, so don't be shy about it. All right, let's get into it.
I totally agree with you. I think genocide is absolutely appalling. I think terrorism is absolutely appalling. Killing citizens for no good reason is an appalling thing. In 2008, you co-authored a paper in which you said, quote, "We are all Hezbollah."
Right. Why? Look. Let me tell you. This is being dragged out over and over. They're saying that also prior to prescription, people were allowed in Al-Quds demonstration to bring flags, including Hezbollah flag. And because we allowed people to do that, we are being accused that we are supporting terrorism.
Yes, you're right. Now, this is prior to prescription. Yes.
Right. Well, let me tell you, if that is indeed the reason to accuse someone for supporting terrorism, then you should say the same thing about Metropolitan Police, which allowed people, like we did, to bring those flags because it was legal.
Yes, it was. In 2008, you're absolutely right. But do you still think that?
And there's never. Since then, we have announced every year that there will be no toleration for any flag of any prescribed organization, and people have to stand within the right side of the law.
So you wouldn't still say that, Mr. Shajara. You wouldn't still say that we are all Hezbollah. That's not something that you would say now.
No, of course I would not say that. Of course I would not say that. Look, you can't sort of manipulate and in this way. As I said, if you say that prior to prescription, people allowed to do certain things, but the government allowed it, the Metropolitan Police allowed it, and we allowed it. So what?
I agree with you. It is prior to prescription. Now they have been prescribed. There have still been Hezbollah flags that have been at those events, at those marches, which have been reported.
No. Don't say that.
Well,
you have no evidence for that.
Yes, I do.
It's been prosecuted.
It was reported at the time.
That has not happened. That does not happen. And if you go to our website and look at every year since the prescription, messages goes out that we will not tolerate any flag or any symbolization of any prescribed organization. So please don't say that.
The Basij Resistance Force is a group that the UK government has sanctioned because they are a paramilitary group mobilised by the Iranian regime to enforce, they say, repression on the streets of Iran. Why did you choose to speak at a student event in Tehran for them?
No, it was, look, you have to understand, if you understand Farsi, which obviously you don't, Basij means volunteer. And there are volunteer groups, there are Basij groups, there are students groups. And they
a voluntary group for whom?
I speak in universities in Turkey, Malaysia, in Britain, elsewhere. And student groups organize these things. This is not a military sort of institution. There are Basij for doctors, there are Basij for teachers, there are Basij for students.
But this is a Basij resistance force. This is a group that the government has sanctioned.
Basij means volunteers. And there are
volunteers for what, sir?
There are volunteer nurses, there are volunteer teachers, there are volunteer students. This is not a military thing.
But you spoke at an organisation Yes, the voluntary part. You're absolutely right again. Absolutely voluntary part. But the voluntary resistance force.
The moment the host dropped that 2008 paper, I need you to feel the weight of that, because this is not a gotcha from thin air. This is documented, co-authored, published, and the line the host pulled from it, "We are all Hezbollah," that is not something you can just wave away with context. And here is what gets me. Masud Shajari's first instinct was not to address the substance of what was written. It was to immediately reframe the entire thing around what was legally permitted at the time. He said the Metropolitan Police allowed those flags too, and technically, yes, before the prescription that was true. But here is the thing. The question was never about legality. It was about where he personally stood, what he personally believed. And when the host pressed him directly, "Would you still say that today?" Masud said no. Of course I would not say that. You have to understand what just happened there. He did not defend the position. He distanced himself from it entirely, which means he knows it does not hold up. And the moment someone abandons a position that fast under that little pressure, it tells you the position was never that solid to begin with. But then, and this is the part that stopped me, the host pivoted to something even more substantive, the Basij Resistance Force, a group the UK government has formally sanctioned, not alleged, not reported, sanctioned, and the host asked directly, "Why did you speak at a university event organized by this group?" Masud's response was to turn the entire thing into a language lesson. He said the word passage means volunteer in Farsi. He said there are volunteer nurses, volunteer teachers, volunteer doctors. And look, I understand that language matters. I understand that words carry meaning that can get lost in translation. But here's the problem with that argument. The host was not talking about the word. He was talking about the specific organization that the UK government assessed, investigated, and sanctioned. You cannot dissolve a government sanction by offering a dictionary definition. That is not how accountability works.
You're trying, 2 by 2 doesn't become 8. I'm telling you, this is a volunteer group, this is a student group, as it will be a doctor's group and so forth. Nothing to do whatsoever with the military.
So why did the government sanction them?
No, the student group isn't.
No, but why has the government sanctioned the Basij Resistance Force?
No, it's a resistance force, not a student force, a student group.
The government has sanctioned this group. You spoke at the university for this group.
I understand that you don't speak Farsi and you don't have no knowledge of things that goes on over there. And, I will excuse you because of that. But the reality is you can't mix up a student group with a resistance group.
I'm telling you, I'm merely repeating what is reported and fact, that the government has sanctioned this group, in which case, why have they sanctioned them?
It's wrongly reported. Just because it's reported is not...
So you didn't speak at this event?
This is a student group. And as there is a teachers group, there is a nurses group, doctors group. It means volunteer groups. It's not a resistance group.
Well, that is the group that the government has sanctioned. You talk about the Human Rights Commission, the Islamic Human Rights Commission. What is it that you are seeking for the human rights of, say, women? Do you agree that women in Britain have better human rights than in Iran?
No, if you look at it, how are you going to judge that? There are more university students. There is 60% of university students in Iran are females. Is that the case in Britain? No, it isn't. You look at all the facts and figures. There are many of them is actually more advantage there. There are some of them that are more advantage here.
You think women in Iran who are forced to wear hijabs, who have to go out with guardians, you think women in Iran have greater human rights than women in Britain?
Have you been to the streets of Iran?
No, I haven't.
Okay, then let me tell you. You could walk around the streets of Iran and there are people without hijab. If you look at even...
I would be able to because I'm not a woman. You honestly believe that women
are walking around.
You honestly believe that women in Iran... What about gay people? Do gay people in Iran have better human rights?
Did you even bother before you sort of endeavor into this sort of thing to actually go on YouTube, look at some of the interviews of women without hijab in middle of the war right now, supporting their government. Go and look at it.
But you maintain that women in Iran who...
Don't stay ignorant, my friend. I really don't mean to insult you.
But believe me, Mr. Shajara, the ignorance is not mine. You genuinely believe that women in Iran, that gay people in Iran have better human rights than in Britain?
Because you're closing, it's either ignorance or you're deliberately closing your eyes. I'm telling you, go, these days there's no excuse for it. Go online and actually, Google it.
Well, if life is so much better in Iran than here...
All right, come up with the racist thing. Come on, let's have it.
What do you mean the racist thing?
What do you want to say?
What do you mean the racist thing? Where have I mentioned race at all?
No, go on. What do you want to say?
Well, I think if life is so much better in Iran for women, why are more women not moving over to Iran from Britain?
Well, there are a lot of people are moving.
You think a lot of women are leaving Britain to go to Iran?
Some people moving there and some people moving here. I mean, the world, people, it is without border. People actually moving back and forward to places. There are people moving that way and there are people moving this way because they prefer it.
Do you think a gay person in Britain would be better off moving to Iran?
This is where the debate shifts into territory that I think reveals everything. The host asked something so direct, so clear, that there was genuinely no comfortable way to answer it. He asked Masud, "Do you believe women in Iran have greater human rights than women in Britain?" And Masud's answer was university enrollment statistics. He said 60% of university students in Iran are female, and I want to be fair here. That statistic is real. Female university enrollment in Iran has been notably high for decades, and that is worth acknowledging. Facts are facts, but here's what I need you to think about. University enrollment and human rights are not the same measurement. You can have high enrollment numbers and simultaneously have laws that restrict what a woman can wear, where she can go, and who she has to be accompanied by in public. And those two things can exist at the same time, and the host called that out immediately. When the host said, "You think women who are forced to wear hijabs and must go out with guardians have greater human rights than women in Britain," that was not an opinion. That was a description of documented law, and Masud's response was to tell the host to go look it up online, to Google it, as if the host was the one operating without information. This is the part that blows my mind, because the host was not making assumptions. He was describing what is written in law, and when someone responds to documented legal reality by suggesting the other person is ignorant, that tells you the argument has already run out of road, and here is what I find genuinely compelling about the host's composure through all of this. He never raised his voice. He never made it personal, he just kept returning to the same place. The law. Not perception, not culture, not interpretation. The law. Because that is the only foundation on which a human rights conversation can actually stand.
Well, I don't know. I'm not gay, and
do you think a gay Muslim person would have better human rights in Iran than in Britain?
Well, look, it's not the way you think. There is a park in middle of Tehran, which is the gathering. Everybody knows is a gathering for gay people, and nobody is standing there shooting people down.
So the human rights of gay people in Iran are the same as Britain?
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying that, you are not fully aware of that. I am not fully aware, and that's why I can't really answer this.
But hang on, I thought you as the person, I think you're from Iran, you clearly go, you have links to that country, you go back to that country. You tell me, are human rights for gay people in Iran better than Britain?
I said I'm not gay, so I wouldn't know. The reality is,
you can see on the statute book, Mr. Shajara.
There is a perception, and there is a reality. I just explained to you one reality, which there is a park, and gay people gathering there openly and publicly. But look, this is ridiculous. We're supposed to be talking about banning a demonstration in our lifetime. Never has happened before, and that demonstration is standing for the right of Palestinians. You bring in every single excuse that you could come out of the Islamophobic closet.
It's not Islamophobic, Mr. Shajara, to think that women should have the rights that they have in Britain, that gay people should have the rights that they have in Britain.
the right of people to stand up in that demonstration. You bring in all sorts of things, every single thing.
Well, people, you have the right to congregate, Mr. Shajara. You have the right to congregate. If I were trying to congregate in Iran, I wouldn't be allowed to.
Next thing you're going to bring, all sorts of other things. This is nothing to do with the right of people in this country legally standing and demonstrating.
You can, sir. You can. You just can't march.
When especially this demonstration have been held historically for over 45 years.
I agree.
And never anyone has been found guilty of any crime.
Well, you can. You'd be pleased to know, Mr. Shajara, you can congregate, but only in a static form. You can't march, for that is a freedom that people enjoy in this country. I have to leave it there for time reasons. Appreciate your time. Masud Shajara is the chair of the Islamic Human Rights Commission.
I want you to really pay attention to what happened in this final section, because Masud Shajari said something about gay rights in Iran that I think deserves serious scrutiny. He described a park in Tehran where gay people gather openly and said nobody is standing there doing anything about it. And I understand what he was trying to communicate, that the reality on the ground is more nuanced than the law on paper, and to some degree social reality and legal reality can differ anywhere in the world. That is not a uniquely Iranian phenomenon. But here is the problem with that argument. The existence of a gathering space does not constitute legal protection. In multiple countries throughout history, marginalized communities have found informal spaces to exist, while still being completely unprotected, and in many cases actively endangered by the law. The informal tolerance of a park does not replace what is written in the legal code, and the host made exactly that point when he referenced the statute book. Perception and reality, as Masud himself said, but the reality he was pointing to was a park. The reality the host was pointing to was law. And then came the line that closed this entire debate for me. The host said, "You have the right to congregate. If I were trying to congregate in Iran, I would not be allowed to." That is it. That is the whole argument in one sentence. No performance, no escalation. Just a plain, verifiable statement of fact that Masud had no answer for. What this debate showed, across every single topic it touched, is the difference between defending a system and defending human beings. Masud spent the entire conversation defending systems, defending words, defending legality and context and framing, and the host kept bringing it back to people. What can a woman do? What can a gay person do? What can you do if you are not from the right background? That gap between defending systems and defending people is exactly what a liberal lens is built to identify. And in this debate, it was on full display. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.